am Dr. Vijayaram, serving as a faculty in the Department of Biotechnology. Today I am going to talk about introduction to genomics and proteomics. As genomics and proteomics spans over these 5 units, I am going to give an introduction on these two contents. One is genomics and the other is proteomics. So, by studying this introduction to genomics and proteomics, you will be studying about definition of genomics, proteomics, the definition of genome, transcriptome, proteome, and classification of genomics, the approaches for functional genomics, and the applications of genomics and proteomics. So by the end of this topic, students are expected to learn all this content. So before that, I'll walk you through a short video wherein we'll have a glimpse of the importance of genomics and where from this genomics has emerged and what is it going to do in the future for the benefit of mankind. What is genomics? Before understanding genomics, the first step to ask is, what is a genome? A genome is a set of instructions needed to create an organism. Genomes are stored in cells as DNA. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, an amazing molecule that stores information using a special code. You can think of genome as a coded cookbook to build and grow an organism. For example, the human genome contains 23,000 genes, in the sense the cookbook has 23,000 recipes that code for different proteins. Each recipe or functional unit of DNA is called a gene, but only about 2% of it codes for proteins. The rest is non-coding DNA with regulatory or other yet unknown functions. The study of how DNA works is called genetics. The methodologies that define genomics allow us to see a bigger picture, a panoramic view of the entire DNA landscape. Not only how the DNA works, but how the whole genome interacts with its environments, from the cell that houses it to the factors outside the organism. The study of the genome and its environment is known as genomics. A famous example of the power of genomics is the Human Genome Project. The goal of the project was to read the entire human genome. That's enough information to fill not one but 400 standard English dictionaries. As the project progressed, researchers needed to create new tools to analyze and share the massive amount of data. This is intended to spread an explosion of further research. By its publication in 2001, the Human Genome Project had forever changed the way we think about research in the field of biotechnology and other allied fields. So, the term genomics, coined by Thomas Roderick, a scientist, refers to the scientific discipline of mapping, sequencing, and analyzing genomes. So, this genomics is classified into two. One is functional genomics and structural genomics. So, functional genomics is the branch of molecular biology which describes about gene functions and interactions, whereas structural genomics aim to describe the structure of each and every protein encoded by the genome. So this genomics is classified into two. One is functional genomics and the other is structural genomics. You have to keep in mind that functional genomics describes about gene functions and interactions, whereas structural genomics describes the structure of each and every protein encoded by the genome. So here I am showing you an example how all these work in unison, that is the genomics, proteomics, transcriptomics, and metabolomics. Left hand side you will see the genomics and epigenomics, where the genes are playing a major role. On the right hand side you will see the transcriptomics, wherein the transcriptomes, that is the mRNA transcripts, all together combine to form the transcriptome, and the bottom corner left hand side you will see the proteomics, wherein the proteins are playing a pivotal role. And on the right hand side of the bottom corner you will see metabolomics, where all the metabolites are involved to form the metabolomics. So genomics, transcriptomics, proteomics, and metabolomics, all this together, that means the genes, the mRNA transcripts, proteins and metabolites work together to produce a particular phenotype. So there are various approaches for functional genomics. So functional genomics, as I mentioned earlier, describes about the function of a gene and its interactions. So there are various approaches. Suppose you want to come to university. Why are you coming to university to study? So there are various ways by which you can come to the university. In the similar manner, there are various approaches of functional genomics to derive the applications, to derive various applications of functional genomics. So one is the cDNA library. So how is this cDNA library constructed? So you need to have mRNA. So RNA will be having mRNA, tRNA, rRNA, ribosomal RNA, transfer RNA, messenger RNA, of which of the total RNA, only mRNA, that is the messenger RNA, will be reverse transcribed to cDNA. So mRNA is a single stranded DNA. So this mRNA will be reverse transcribed to cDNA. And then there you will be having one strand of mRNA and the other strand of cDNA. And later you need to get rid of the mRNA. And then you will make this single stranded cDNA into double stranded DNA. And then these will be cloned into vectors after digestion and then ligated into vectors to obtain various mRNA transcripts. So if you take the skin, if you take the lungs, if you take the liver, wherever you isolate genomic DNA, it is going to be the same all throughout the organism. But if you want to know what are the transcripts present in the skin, then you have to isolate RNA. So that means DNA is same all throughout the body. But if you go with RNA, it is specific to a tissue. It is not same throughout the body. If someone asks you a question, isolate, I want to know what are the transcripts present in liver. You have to, what are the mRNA transcripts present in liver if you want to know, then we have to go with construction of a cDNA library of the liver. If you want to know the transcripts, that is mRNA transcripts present in the kidney, then we have to isolate RNA from the kidney and therefrom we have to construct the cDNA library. But if I want to isolate genomic DNA, I need not go to lungs or liver or kidney to isolate genomic DNA because genomic DNA is same throughout the body. Because in third year, like we have studied genetic engineering course, wherein the chicken liver was collected for isolation of genomic DNA because that is one of the largest organ. So that's why I have gone with isolation of genomic DNA from liver. But if you want to know the transcripts that are present in the liver, then you will have to isolate RNA from liver. If you want to know what are the mRNA transcripts present in the kidney, then you have to isolate mRNA from the kidney and then go with reverse transcription of cDNA. But if you want to isolate genomic DNA, if you want to go with the genomic library, you also have studied about the genomic library in genetic engineering course. So genomic library, you can isolate genomic DNA from any part, digest the genomic DNA into fragments and ligate those fragments into vectors. So here we are talking about cDNA library because this is a functional genomics approach wherein it is studied at the RNA level. So I am showing you an example. Like we have constructed a cDNA library from guinea pig, concavalin A stimulated spleen cells of guinea pig to identify the genes, that are present in the specific cells. Therein we have narrowed down to a single gene IL-10, interleukin 10, a Th2 cytokine for identifying the role or to decipher its role in guinea pig model of pulmonary tuberculosis. What I want to emphasize here is, if you want to find out the transcripts, the mRNA transcripts that are present in a tissue, then you have to go to the specific tissue or the specific cell. But if you want to go with genomic library, okay, then you have to isolate genomic DNA from any tissue, any cell, it doesn't matter, it is going to give the same architecture. Then followed by cDNA library. cDNA libraries was an older approach. So there is another approach for functional genomics which has replaced the construction of cDNA library. That is, we are going with the next generation sequencing approach. The earlier approach was Sanger sequencing approach. So this next generation sequencing approach has almost replaced this traditional Sanger approach for analyzing the genes that are present in the transcriptome utilizing the RNA-seq approach. So this is very similar to what I had mentioned in CDN library, but this is done using next generation sequencing. This is one approach for functional genomics. So then the next approach is SAGE, serial analysis of gene expression. So this is another approach for functional genomics. So in the earlier approach I had mentioned about CDN library, RNA-seq, okay, and then SAGE, serial analysis of gene expression. So these are some of the approaches that we use for functional genomics to decipher the role of functional genomics in various tissue or to identify the genes. So we go with these approaches. So the another interesting approach is microarray. This microarray approach, so we have many oligonucleotides spotted onto the array or cDNA spotted onto the array where the complementary DNA will be binding there. So if it is present in the tissue, then we will see an expression approach. If it is not present, then we will see low levels of expression or no expression. I mean, if it is not present, you will see no expression, but if it is present in lower quantity, you will see a limited expression. So based on that, you will be able to differentially identify, you will be able to identify the genes that are differentially expressed. So I am giving an example wherein we have published this article, like identification of genes differentially expressed in wild type and Purkinje cell degenerative mice. So this PCD, Purkinje cell degeneration, is a neuronal degeneration. That means the neurons get degenerated. So we have used the microarray approach to identify the genes that are differentially expressed between wild type and Purkinje cell degeneration mice. And then we found out some of the genes, synaptotegmin and other genes that are differentially expressed between wild type and Purkinje cell degenerative mice. Then we did RT-PCR and then we found out in other samples that we haven't gone for analysis of microarray to confirm the role. Then here I am giving an example of the research article that we had published in 2013, that is molecular cloning expression and in silico structural analysis of guinea pig IL-17. So here we are talking about just one guinea pig IL-17. But structural genomics aims to describe the structure of each and every protein encoded by the genome. So like this is a single gene, but structural genomics deals with the proteins present in the genome, complete all the proteins present in the genome. So there are various applications of genomics. The applications of genomics are immense, but I am giving you some of the applications because we are studying this genomics and proteomics all throughout these 5 units. So you need to understand the importance of this genomics and proteomics. And the other thing is, all this you will be studying in the later part, but just for introductory purpose, I am giving you some examples for you to better understand the need and importance of studying this course. So one of the application of genomics is understanding responses to drugs, pharmacogenomics. The medicine that is effective, the medicine that is given for one person may not be effectively working for other person. So that means we are seeing a variation from person to person. For some people, low dose will work. For some people, high dose will work. For some people, it may not work. So what is the difference? That means our genetic makeup, our genomic makeup is different from organism to organism, individual to individual. So pharmacogenomics deals with understanding responses to drugs. It is the association between genomic, genetic and proteomic data on one hand, and then the drug response pattern that is obtained on the other side. So another application of genomics is the development of new antibiotics. So what are antibiotics? Antibiotics are the secondary metabolic products of one microorganism which kills or inhibits the growth of other microorganism. So these antibiotics are having lot of potential because we are seeing a wide array of diseases these days, and the existing antibiotics are not effective. So we need to go with a newer version of antibiotics. So by understanding the sequences, the genetic sequences in the genome, we will be able to come up with new antibiotics. So that means the new antibiotics will be able to work effectively in comparison with the already existing antibiotics, because by sequencing the genome, we will be able to identify the regions that are conferring virulence, and we can target those virulent regions using these antibiotics. The new vaccine development. So here we are using various approaches. By sequencing the genome, we can go with proteomics technologies, IVT, DNA microarrays, and then we can go with high throughput cloning and expression, and then finally we end up with in silico studies for new vaccine development. If you take the recent COVID-19, that is a coronavirus, so by sequencing of the genome, people are able to design new drugs and new vaccine to eliminate the disease. So there are various medicines and then vaccines coming up. This is only possible because of sequencing the genome. So then the next is proteomics. Proteomics is the analysis of the entire protein complement of a cell, tissue or organism under a specific defined set of conditions. So the proteome refers to the complete set of proteins produced or modified by the organism. So there are various applications of proteomics. One is proteomics in novel drug discovery. So we will be able to identify, come up with new biomarkers with the application of proteomic approaches. And then with these biomarkers, we will be able to go for early disease diagnosis, and then we will be able to go for target drug discovery as well as drugs mode of action and toxicological studies. Every drug will be having therapeutic effect as well as toxic effect. Here, with these proteomic approaches like 2D gel electrophoresis that you will be studying later, we will be able to identify novel biomarkers, and then with those novel biomarkers, we will be able to go for early disease diagnosis, then target drug discovery, and then how the drug is acting, and then also the toxicological effect that is accompanied with the therapeutic effect. So some of the applications of this proteomics are, one is target drug discovery, and then the second is crop protection and artificial regulations. So we are having in crops, we can go with various proteomic approaches wherein we will be able to analyze the role of those proteins in conferring tolerance to stress. So we will be able to come up with new cultivars by knowing the proteins that are expressed in those plants that are conferring tolerance to stress, and we can clone those corresponding genes into the other plants. That is, we can generate transgenic plants, wherein the other plants will be conferring tolerance to stress like salinity and toxic levels of soil, etc. So finally, you are seeing an article here that we have recently published. That is a prokaryotic expression, in vitro biological analysis and in silico structural evaluation of guinea pig IL-4. I suggest that you go through this article because it is also for functional genomic approach wherein we have constructed cDNA library. Of course, we narrowed down to a single gene, but the purpose is to identify as many genes as possible and decipher their role in the guinea pig model of pulmonary tuberculosis. So this we have worked with an American group and then a group at NIT Rourkela, and then we have published this article. So if you have any doubts, you can get back. By now, you would have understood the definition of genome, transcriptome, genomics and proteomics. So genome refers to the complete set of genes present in the organism, and transcriptome refers to the complete set of mRNA transcripts present in the tissue or cell of the organism. And genomics is the scientific discipline of mapping, sequencing and analyzing genomes. And then proteomics is the study of proteomes. Proteome is nothing but complete set of proteins. So, and then we also have studied about the difference between functional genomics and structural genomics. So functional genomics describes about gene function and its interactions. But structural genomics refers to or attempts to describe the three-dimensional structure of each and every protein encoded by the genome. And then the genomics, if we talk about genomics and proteomics, the link is the genomics, it contains DNA and proteomics contain proteins. So DNA is transcribed to mRNA, that is the messenger RNA, and then mRNA is translated into proteins. And then we also have studied about the approaches for functional genomics at the RNA level. Like there are various levels wherein we can study functional genomic approaches. One is at the level of DNA, RNA and proteins. We have focused majorly on RNA level. So wherein various approaches such as SAGE, CAGE, that is serial analysis of gene expression, CAP analysis of gene expression, and then cDNA libraries, and followed by microarrays of various approaches. We'll study in detail, but just to give you an idea, I have gone through those approaches. And finally, we also have undergone the applications of genomics and proteomics in brief. So some of the applications of genomics in brief are drug discovery, and that is by discovering novel antibiotics. Finally, we have also studied the applications of genomics and proteomics in brief. So some of the applications of genomics are pharmacogenomics, personalized medicine, and development of new antibiotics that are much more effective than existing antibiotics or else the novel antibiotics, and also the vaccines. The reason for this is, suppose you take a vaccine BCG, it is not offering 100% protection against tuberculosis. It is only offering 0 to 80%. So we are in search of new vaccines against tuberculosis. So by sequencing the genome and then identifying various strains and the virulent lesions, we will be able to come up with new vaccines that are much more effective than existing vaccines, or else if there is no vaccine available for like malaria, we can go with a new vaccine. And then finally, the take home assignment is a person named X mentions person named Y that he wants to construct a cDNA library. So, but person named Y suggests that X can construct cDNA library from any cell or tissue of the organism, because he feels that everywhere it is the same. The representation of the genome is the same, and then mRNA transcripts or whatever, they are the same all throughout the body. That is what he feels. But person named X disagrees, and he says that no, if you want to construct, we have to go to the specific tissue and construct. It is not same. So for cDNA library to construct, so which approach do they need to use? Whether do you agree with X or do you agree with Y? So you can send me the assignment answers via email. In the next class, we are going to talk about genome organization. So in eukaryotes. So the pretty interesting thing here is how the 6 feet or 6.2 feet long genome is put into a small cell. You can imagine a tall person being put into a small hole. So that is the beauty of this eukaryotic genome organization. Stay tuned. We'll meet you in the next class. Thank you.